the dark, slow refrain of the rain. Is the dark, slow refrain of the rain. Rain on the roof, its rhythm softly falling. You've gone away, and loneliness is gone.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Live Lab. Oh, is my mic a little heavy? No, maybe not. Looks all right. All right, everyone. We're here once again. Oh, my mic is a little loud. I'm going to have to bring that down. Hold on one second here. All right, that should be better. Welcome everyone. Once again, you're not here. I'm here, sadly, but we're going to do our best to make things happen. First of all, I'd like to welcome everyone, our concert series supporters who are usually always here, and the alumni from all over the world who are here tonight. I want to point out, before we move on, a couple things. There's a merchandise button down below the screen that you're looking at on the browser. If you want to support our artists tonight, you can buy some of our merchandise. There's also a let us know what you think survey that you can complete at the end of the concert, and I'll remind you about that again. And now I just want to say this concert is being streamed on in real time on YouTube. So the best thing to do for everyone is to move over to YouTube. So if you put your mouse over the screen, you'll see a little link that you can hit that says YouTube on it, and that will take you on a new tab over to the YouTube feed directly. There's a couple advantages to watching on YouTube. You don't have to if you don't want to. You can just full screen it and watch the concert. But if you're on YouTube, then you can, first of all, you can subscribe to our channel, but you'll be able to participate in the live chat that comes along with the YouTube channel. And at the end of tonight's show, we're going to have a live Q&A. So if you want to be able to be in there asking questions of the performer and our other guests, then you're going to need to be on the YouTube channel. So go over there right now if you want to. And when you're there, just make sure that there's a little red light that should be on that says live, and that means that you'll be caught up with the live stream. So sometimes you can pause it, of course, and walk away and then come back. If you do that, then you'll get behind real time and you won't be able to participate in the real time chat. So if you hit the live button, then you'll be live. So everyone should be moving over to YouTube now if you like. Right, so I'd like to do some acknowledgements. Well, for this evening's show, I'd like to gratefully acknowledge the McMaster Alumni Association, TD Insurance, and the Insight Foundation for the Arts as concert series sponsors. And we are grateful to Unitron for their sponsorship of this concert, which is featuring a science snapshot on hearing aids and music listening with audiologist Dr. Marshall Chasin. I'll tell you a little bit more about him just before he comes on. I'd also like to thank Judy Marcel's Real Estate and Long & McQuaid for their generous sponsorship of our virtual fall concerts. I'd like to say LiveLab is not just a one-of-a-kind performance theater. For those of you who've been here, you know that's true. It's a perfect venue for outstanding artists like Braun, but the Live Lab also brings together remarkable scientists across McMaster and around the world. As one of 5 research centers and institutes in the Faculty of Science, the Live Lab is driving advances in the study of music, sound, movement, and how they impact human health and development. To support our researchers on the world stage, we bring artists to the stage here at the LiveLab. So remember, when you watch the show tonight, you're watching actual research in action, and that's another reason to complete that survey for us at the end. So thanks for joining us. If you find any inspiration out of tonight's performance, please visit the main site, livelab.mcmaster.ca, to make a gift. We'll also post links to the donation section once or twice through the concert. Your donation will support the LiveLab in improving everyone's health and well-being. So once again, our second concert, we'd envisioned, of course, that we would be having maybe real live performances, but we couldn't do that for this concert for safety reasons and technical reasons. Although the concert's pre-recorded, everyone can still experience it together. And as I said, at the end of the show, we'll have a live Q&A session. And before we do that, we'll be back to having our science snapshot, which I'll tell you about right after the concert. So tonight's lineup is once again a return performance, just like the last concert. Addie Braun was here, I think, 2 seasons ago, was it, Susan? But the lineup tonight's a little bit different. We've got Daniel Barnes on drums, Pat Collins on bass, but Adrian Ferrugia, who's also a return LiveLab performer, on piano, and of course Addie Braun on vocals. So we'll watch the concert, we'll come back and do our science snapshot, and then we'll be doing the live chat. So anything you want to put up on the chat on the YouTube, feel free to do so. As you'll see for the concert, we've done things a little bit differently. Once again, the performers are in their own little plastic bubbles to make sure that all the safety precautions are observed. So here we go with the concert.
Joe's got a monkey on his back. He can't seem to shake it loose, no matter how hard he tries. He's lost a fortune at the track, but he wouldn't call it quits against all his friends' advice. Joe borrowed money from the man. That's when his travels all began. He's going crazy from the heat, crazy from the heat. They put the word out on the street, baby. He's going crazy from the heat, absolutely crazy from the heat. They put the word out on the street, baby. The man says, Joe, I'll tell no lie. Do me a favor, son, I'll let you off the hook. I got a problem with this guy. If you make him disappear, I'm willing to close the book. Joe's always played a crooked game, but he's no killer just the same. He's going crazy from the heat, crazy from the heat. They put the word out on the street, baby. He's going crazy from the heat, absolutely crazy from the heat. They put the word out on the street, baby. Run. Switzerland, the jungles of Mozambique, Zambique, Zambique. They're gonna find him, goodness knows. It might take a year or two, and it might take a day or a week. Joe's carefree life is at an end. He'll never play it cool again. He's going crazy from the heat, crazy from the heat. They put the word out on the street, baby. He's going crazy, crazy from the heat. They put the word out on the street, baby. He's going crazy from the heat, absolutely crazy from the heat. They put the word out on the street, baby. He's going crazy from the heat, absolutely crazy from the heat. They put the word out on the street, baby. He's going crazy. Hello, everybody. Virtual greetings to all of you. Adrian Ferrugia on piano, and we have Pat Collins on bass, and Daniel Barnes on drums in our very COVID-inspired, Orson Welles-inspired setup here. We're going to take you through some pretty remarkable movies and music from film noir. So put your gangster hats on and pour yourself a favorite cocktail, or a mocktail, whatever you so please. I think, by the way, that guy back there has something to say to me.
You're never around when I need you.
Ha! You never need me when I'm around.
You're a bitter little lady.
It's a bitter little world. But nighttime is my time for just reminiscing, regretting instead of forgetting with somebody else. There'll be no one unless that someone is you, is you. I intend to be independently blue. To love, but I don't want to borrow, to have it today and to give back tomorrow. For my love is your love, there's no love for nobody else. Pat Collins. Today and to give back tomorrow. For my love is your love, there's no love for nobody else. My love is your love, there's no love for nobody else. And that's for sure.
So that was from the movie Love Me or Leave Me, sung by the one and only Doris Day, about the woes of the remarkable singer Ruth Etting. This is sort of a quintessential noir song right now. There used to be a restaurant in Toronto, there still may be, in fact, Mildred Pierce. And in this next song, this is actually probably one of the most, maybe the only upbeat and carefree little moment in which the young daughter of Joan Crawford tries to imitate Carmen Miranda in this song.
Hey, that's a nice perfume.
Ah, something new. Attracts mosquitoes and repels men.
1, 2, 3.
We're going to go somewhere south. Have you ever danced in the tropics in the hazy, lazy, like kind of crazy, like South American way? Have you ever kissed in the moonlight in the grand and glorious, gay, notorious South American way? The Latin scheme of love is like a dream of love. The Latin stream of love is in their vein. They buy a jewel for you and find a jewel for you and take a mule for you across the plain. There is melody in the music, and while the gauchos sing it, come on and swing it the South American way. In the tropics, in the hazy, lazy, like kinda crazy, like South American way. Have you ever kissed in the moonlight in the grand and glorious, gay, notorious South American way? The Latin scheme of love is like a dream of love. The Latin stream of love is in their vein. They buy a jewel for you and find a jewel for you and take a mule for you across the plain. And while the gauchos sing it, come on and swing it the South American way. While the gauchos sing it, come on and swing it the South American way. Caramba! And that'll probably be one of our most upbeat, fun movies. This is from the movie Jennifer. And I just read last night that the song by Matt Dennis was actually performed in the movie by Matt Dennis himself, playing the piano and singing. So unfortunately, I couldn't really find a good picture of it, but and I think we're all in this one, right? So I think they say that the eyes are the windows to the soul, but they can also be the seat of deception. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Try to think that love's not around. Still it's uncomfortably near. they glow unbearably bright. Need I say that my love's misspent with angel eyes tonight? So drink up, all you people, order anything you see. Have fun, you happy people. The laugh and the jokes on me. Pardon me, but I gotta run. The facts uncommonly clear. Need I say who's now number one, and why my angel eyes into you? Mr. Angel Eyes Pat Collins. So drink up, all you people. Order anything you see. Have fun, you happy people. The laugh and the jokes on me. Pardon me, but I gotta run. The facts uncommonly clear. Gotta find who's now number one, and why my angel eyes ain't you. Gotta find who's now number one, and why my angel eyes ain't here. Puts one in a mood that you don't really want to come out of. But we must. Perhaps going on now to maybe the most famous noir movie, Laura. And the interesting thing about this song is you hear the song Laura by David Raxon
all throughout the entire movie. But the words were actually not written until 2 years later by Johnny Mercer. A flat-footed detective, a murder mystery, and the portrait of a beautiful woman. You know the feeling of something half remembered, of something that never happened, yet you recall it well. You know the feeling of recognizing someone that you've never met, as far as you can tell. Well, Laura is the face in the misty light. Footsteps that you hear down the hall. The laugh that floats on a summer night that you can never quite recall. And you see Laura on a train that is passing through. Those eyes, how familiar they seem. She gave your very first kiss to you. That was Laura, but she's only a dream. Only a dream. Only a dream. And do you see Laura on the train that is passing through? Oh, those eyes, how familiar they seem. She gave your very first kiss to you. That was Laura, but she's only a dream. Only a dream. Only a dream. Okay. This next song was actually featured in a neo-noir movie called The Mona Lisa Smile, where it was sang by Tori Amos. But if you Google the song, it was first sung by Betty Hutton and then later by Dinah Shore, and I think it perfectly sums up the funny language, the little clever talk, the hep with helium and so forth that you find in, for example, the Thin Man movies, which I think is sort of a dramedy noir. Anyway,
Can I have a word with you?
yes, as long as it's goodbye. Finally found a fella, almost completely divine.
His vocabulary is killing this romance of mine. We get into an intimate situation, and then begins this Romeo's conversation. He says, murder, he says. Every time we kiss, he says, murder, he says. At a time like this, he says, murder, he says. Is that the language of love? He says, son, he says. Takes me in his arms, he says, son, he says. Meaning armor charms, he says, son, he says. Is that the language of love? He says, chick, chick, you torture me, zoot. Are we living? I'm thinking of leaving him flat. He says, dig, dig the jumps the old ticker is given. Now he can talk plainer than that. He says, murder, he says. Every time we kiss, he says, murder, he says. Keep it up like this and that, murder, he says. In that impossible tone, we'll bring on nobody's murder but his own. He says, Jackson, he says, and my name's Marie. He says, Jackson, he says, shoot the snoop with me. He says, Jackson, he says, is that the language of love? I don't think so. He says, when he likes my hat, he says, now what the heck is that? He says, ooh, is that the language of love? He says, help with helium now, babe, we're cooking, and other expressions to it. We're in the groove, and the groove is good looking. He sounds like his uppers don't fit. He says, murder, he says. Every time we kiss, he says, murder, he says. Keep it up like this and that, murder, he says. In that impossible tone, we'll bring on nobody's murder. Nobody's murder. Nobody's murder but his own. That's for sure. I say so. If someone spoke to me like that, goner. You really have to look at those Thin Man movies. They're just fantastic. Nick and Nora Jones. In essence, you know, film noir is about the dark side of the American dream. And Nick, as the detective, is certainly the dark side. But Nora brings in the reality and the humor, and then they have that dog, Asta. Need I say more? You gotta watch the show. Now we're gonna go to a song that actually is not from film noir. And I wonder why, because it really, truly is very noir. Jonathan, will you marry me?
Not even a little bit.
1, 2, 3, 4. Greater me with 7 skies can watch me with a million eyes. Oh, sing me to sleep, lullaby over the leaves. Cover me with the heavens blue and let me dream a dream or two. Oh, sing me to sleep, lullaby over the leaves. I'm breezing along with the breeze. I'm hearing a song with the trees. Ooh, the fine melody caressing the shore, familiar to me, I've heard it before. Ooh, that Southland, don't I feel it in my soul? And I've reached my goal. Oh, sing me to sleep, lullaby of the leaves.
song. Ooh, the fine melody caressing the shore. Ooh, that Southland, don't I feel it in my soul? And don't I know I've reached my goal? Oh, sing me to sleep, lullaby of the leaf, lullaby of the leaf, lullaby of the leaf, lullaby of the leaf. Say it again. It keeps me awake.
I love you.
You go to my head and you linger like a haunting refrain, and I find you spinning around in my brain like the bubbles in a glass of champagne. You go to my head like a sip of sparkling burgundy brew, and I find the very mention of you like the kicker in a julep or two. The thrill of the thought that you might give a thought to my plea casts a spell over me. Still I say to myself, get a hold of yourself. Can't you see it never can be? You go to my head with a smile that makes my temperature rise like a summer with 1,000 Julys. You intoxicate my soul with your eyes. Although I'm certain that this heart of mine hasn't a ghost of a chance in this crazy romance. You go to my head you go to my head.
Now to a movie called The Dark City that featured Charlton Heston in his screen debut.
You look nice. Would you marry me?
I did. One, two, three.
That old black magic has me in its spell. That old black magic that you weave so well.
Those icy fingers up and down my spine.
Same old witchcraft when your eyes meet mine.
The same old tingle that I feel inside. And there that elevator starts its ride. And down I go, round and round I go, like a leaf that's caught in a tide. I should stay away, but what can I do? I hear that name, and I'm a flame, oh, a flame with such a burning desire that only your kiss can put out the fire. 'Cause you're the lover I waited for, the maid that fated me created for. And every time your lips meet mine, darling, down and round I go, round and round I go. In the spin I'm loving, that spin I'm in, under that old black magic called love. So one thing is that a virtual audience member actually made me aware of the fact that it wasn't Nick and Nora Jones. It was Nick and Nora Charles in the Thin movie. So thank you, virtual viewer, for bringing that to our attention. You played it for her. Now play it for me. This day and age we're living in gives cause for apprehension, with speed and new inventions and things like fourth dimensions. Yet, we get a trifle weary with Mr. Einstein's theory. So we must get down to earth at times, relax, relieve the tension. No matter what the progress or what may yet be proved, the simple facts of life are such
they cannot be removed. You must remember this: a kiss is still a kiss, a sigh is just a sigh. The fundamental things apply as time goes by. And when two lovers woo, they still say, I love you. On that you can rely. No matter what the future brings as time goes by. Moonlight and love songs, never at a date. Hearts full of passion, jealousy and hate. Woman needs man, and man must have his mate that no one can deny. It's still the same old story, a fight for love and glory, a case of do or die. The world will always welcome lovers as time goes by. Moonlight and love songs, never at a date. Hearts full of passion, jealousy and hate. Woman needs man, and man must have his mate that no one can deny. It's still the same old story, a fight for love and glory, a case of do or die. The world will always welcome lovers as time goes by. The world will always welcome lovers
What a great tune and such a great, great movie, Casablanca. So, I bet you nobody really thinks that Germany played a pivotal role in the creation of film noir, but it actually did, because movie directors like Josef von Sternberg and Fritz Lang, when they moved to Hollywood to escape the Nazis, they brought their bit of expressionistic theater with them, and definitely one could say that the movie of the Three-Penny Opera with Mac the Knife, to me is probably one of the origins of film noir. So we give you that song.
1, 2, 3.
Look at him, like a dog waiting for somebody to throw him a bone.
Oh, the shark has pretty teeth, dear, and he shows them pearly white. Just a jackknife as McKeith, dear, and he keeps it out of sight. When the shark bites with his teeth, dear, scarlet billows start to spread. Fancy gloves, though, where's McKeith, dear? So there's not a trace of red. On the sidewalk, Sunday morning, lies a body oozing life. Someone sneaking around the corner. Is that someone like the knife from the tugboat by the river? A cement bag's dropping down. The cement's just for the weight, dear. Bet your Mackie's back in town. Louis Miller disappeared, dear, after drawing out his cash. And McHeath spends like a sailor. Did our boy do something rash? Suki Tawdry, Jenny Diver, Polly Peachum, Lucy Brown. Oh, the line forms on the right, dear, now that Mackie's back in town. Oh, the line forms on the right, dear, now that Mackie's back in town. Look out, Mackie's back in town. We're going to leave you with a great song from Macau. It's been a great joy to be back at the LiveLab Theater, and I want to thank everybody for making this possible. Let's kick it up a little bit. No names, no addresses, just companions for the evening. It's 2:45. There's no one in the place except you and me. So set 'em up, Joe. I got a little story you ought to know. We're drinking, my friend, to the end of a brief episode. Making one for my baby and one more for the road. I got the routine, so drop another nickel in the machine. I'm feeling so bad, I wish you'd make the music dreamy and sad. Could tell you a lot, but you've got to be true to your code. So make it one for my baby and one more for the road. You'd never know it, but buddy, I'm a kind of poet, and I got a lot of things to say. And when I'm gloomy. You simply gotta listen to me until it's tucked away. Well, that's how it goes. And Joe, I know you're getting anxious to close. So thanks for the cheer. I hope you didn't mind my bending your ear. This torch that I found must be drowned, or it soon might explode. Making one for my baby and one more for the road. And one more for the road. Make it one more for the road. Da-da-da-da-ba-ba. Ba-ba-ba-ba. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. Making one more for the road. One more for the road. One more for the road.
All right. Oop. I think that was a great concert. I really enjoyed that one. It was really nice to be there. I think it was quite different to be able to experience live music again for me after so many months. So we got to do 2 concerts here at the Live Lab before the COVID got bad enough, and it was a lot of fun. And that one in particular, I really enjoyed that. The camera work, I think, was excellent. The sound wasn't too bad. I do say so myself. Anyway, so we're back now to doing science snapshots. We didn't do one exactly for the last concert, but this time we're going to do one. It's my pleasure to introduce Marshall Chasin, who we've been working with at the Live Lab for many years now. He is Canada's probably foremost expert, I think, on audiology and hearing aids, especially when it relates to music and musicians. We've done some really interesting stuff together at the Hamilton Philharmonic. We had a concert a year ago where we had people with hearing aids in the audience at Hamilton Place. Anyway, he's definitely an expert, and he's going to give us a very short talk about hearing aids and music. And then we're going to go to a live chat with Marshall, and Addie Braun is going to be there, and Dr. Lowell Trainer is going to moderate it. So here we go with Marshall's talk.
The question of what has music taught us about hearing aids for speech is a fascinating topic. Usually we start with speech and then try to extend that to our appreciation of music through hearing aids, but sometimes it can work backwards as well. This is an old picture of an ear from the 1880s, where we once thought that's how we heard. The different parts of the outer ear had different notes associated with them. I've tried it actually by pushing my ear, by rubbing my ear, and it doesn't seem to work. It's quite a romantic picture, but I don't think it's true. It's a little bit more complicated in the sense that we have not only the outer ear, but the inner ear as well in the middle ear. The understanding of our work with music and hearing, or hard of hearing people and hearing aids, is a combined effort. I have to acknowledge the work of the Hamilton Philharmonic Orchestra, Unitron Hearing, which is a hearing aid manufacturer, and LiveLab, of course. And between all of us and different engineers and different professions, we're able to get a better handle about what we think is going on and how to optimize music through hearing aids for people with hearing difficulties. There are two essential lessons that the analysis of music has taught us about speech and how we can go back now and change a couple of things. One is referred to an ugly sounding phrase called the peak input limiting level, and the other one is on frequency compression or squishing, transposition. So let's first talk about that ugly phrase, the peak input limiting level. I like to think about this as a low-hanging bridge or a low-hanging doorway. If we go through the doorway or go under the bridge and it's low-hanging, we may hit our head or destroy ourselves if we're flying a plane, perhaps, and we don't want that to happen. And this is something that occurs in all digital hearing aids, and it occurs at the front end, just after the microphone. So the sound comes in to the microphone, then we try to turn it into digital sound, and in doing so, we usually have an upper limit or a bridge. And if we have that bridge being too low, and if distortion occurs so early in the circuitry, there's nothing we can do later on to improve it. We can't have any fancy software programming to make it sound more clear. For those of you over the age of 50, you'll remember this gentleman, Max Headroom, and this is sometimes referred to as a headroom problem, where the sound goes in, but the window's not open high enough, or the bridge is not high enough, and we get into some headroom difficulties. This is an analogy of the plane coming up to a bridge. At one point, something's got to go. Either the plane has to pull up, or the bridge has to pull up, or something has to happen, or the plane can drive under the bridge. And there are some technologies in our field right now where essentially sound is reduced to go under the bridge. Other technologies where the bridge is actually elevated to prevent the plane crashing into the bridge. This is an analogy with a double decker becoming a single decker if it went through a low hanging bridge. So we did an experiment. This is not the one done it with LiveLab, but this is done several years ago, but to show you what can go wrong. We had a hearing aid constructed where the only thing that we changed was that peak input limiting level, that front end headroom problem. And I want to show you what it sounds like at a very high level, the limit of the modern microphones, down to a lower level, 105 decibels, 96, the level of many modern hearing aids, 92, and then back up to 105. And let's listen to that. Once speech or music for that matter is distorted by having a level that's too low, there's nothing that we could do to resolve it. And this has taught us about a few things about music, but what about a person's own voice? Now, that's not as loud as music, but there is one element of our own voice that is, and that's our own voice at the level of our own hearing aid. It's only about 8 to 10 centimeters away from our mouth. And understandably, it's much louder. So if we can resolve this problem with hearing aids for music, it actually can resolve a hard of hearing person's own voice at the level of their own hearing aid, and it can sound a lot better. This is some research that I did, about 8, 9 years ago, where the blue is new technology and the orange is old technology. And in terms of preference, both for music on the left and speech on the right, you could see it's significantly better, including a person's own voice on the right. The blue is much higher than the red, just if we can resolve this peak input limiting issue. The second issue or second element that we've learned from music about speech is frequency compression. Think of moving the top end notes of the piano keyboard down a little bit towards the center or towards the left-hand side of the piano keyboard. This is for people with such severe hearing losses where more may be worse than none at all. And it may be that taking it away from a damaged hearing region on the right-hand side of the piano keyboard and moving it down somewhat to the left may be healthier all around. It is okay for speech. Frequency compression or frequency transposition is implemented in many modern hearing aids. Let me just show you what it would be for speech.
Finally, I can curl up with my book and escape to the roaming wilds of Nottingham. Finally, I can curl up with my book and escape to the roaming wilds of Nottingham. Finally, I can curl up with my book and escape to the roaming wilds of Nottingham.
Let me show you the same thing though with just 1/2 of one semitone, a quarter tone, a decrease only in the higher pitches near the top end of the piano keyboard to show you how it can ruin music. Just the smallest little bit of frequency transposition can be disastrous. But it turns out that the same thing is with speech as well. A little is good, too much is no good. This is the spectrum. It's just the white. As you can see, it's just a little bit of a movement. And it can destroy music, but also it can destroy speech. So let's listen to what happens if you do too much of it for speech.
Finally, I can curl up with my book and escape to the roaming wilds of Nottingham. Finally, I can curl up with my book and escape to the roaming wilds of Nottingham. Finally, I can curl up with my book and escape to the roaming wilds of Nottingham.
So this is where the study of music has actually given us limits on what we can do with speech. Yes, it's very helpful for speech, but not perfect. This is more information if anyone does require it. It's on the musiciansclinics.com website. There are some audio files. If you scroll over to publications and move down, you'll have some audio demonstrations and you'll be able to hear some of these demonstrations on your own. Thank you.
All right, so that was Dr. Marshall Chasin giving us a little information about hearing aids and music. And we have a live chat session that was planned to have Marshall Chasin and our performer and Dr. Trainer, but we're sort of missing Dr. Chasin at the moment, but perhaps, oh, no, there he is. So I am going to bring up their sound and cut to the live Q&A. You guys can ask questions as you wish in YouTube, and those guys will answer them. I'm sure they have other things to talk about as well if you don't have any questions. So let me bring it up.
With the longing in me, rain on the roof
All right, you guys are live.
that speaks to me of sorrows, of painful truths, and rainy day tomorrow.
I thought I'd just start by asking you a few questions. First of all,
Sure.
Audie, that band that you had was really incredible. I mean, you were incredible, of course, but your band also, and the way they supported each other and you. Can you talk a little bit about what it was like to work with those musicians?
Yeah, I mean, I can just say that it was a dream from beginning to end. We all collaborate musically so well together, but we're all also good friends. And there was just an ease and joviality. And really, it's an ensemble feeling. To me, jazz is like a great chamber experience. You know, when I felt as if they were carrying me on a magic carpet. So once again, Adrian Ferrugia on piano, Pat Collins on bass, and Dania Barnes on drums. Thank you so much. Thank you so much in these difficult times for holding it together.
Yeah, amazing. Marshall, maybe you can tell us a little bit about what technological innovations do you think are on the horizon with hearing aids?
Oh, what a good question. And thank you again for having me. With this film noir theme, I went out and got my old slide rule in case there are any technical questions I can answer it for your audience. There are many different changes coming down the pipeline. There's always the pressure towards miniaturization, even though in the last 5 years we've stepped backwards towards the old behind the ear hearing aids, and we've improved those dramatically. And in fact, I think right now the majority of hearing aids sold are of the behind the ear sort. With that slightly larger design where the machine is behind the ear, hidden in the hair, we have better remote access with Bluetooth. We have control now with our smartphones. We can then not only use this to control hearing aids, but this is actually an additional microphone where we can place this someplace else. And as long as we're within the limits of Bluetooth, which is about 10 meters, or if there's any Americans listening tonight, that's about 30 feet. And as long as we're within that distance, it is an additional hearing aid. So we're having a lot of remote access to the hearing aids. Hearing aids are getting slightly smarter in the sense that they're saying, yes, that's speech, I'm going to accept that. That's noise or noise-like, I'm not going to accept that. So we're seeing slight evolutions, not a revolution.
Right. And for people who enjoy live music, which there's many of us, of course, here tonight, and we can't obviously hear much live music right now, but when people use hearing aids for live music, they often complain that they don't work that well with live music. Is there anything coming that would help that situation?
Also a good question. I think they probably have the wrong hearing aids. They either have a hearing aid that doesn't have a sufficiently high peak input limiting level, so they're listening through a window that's only halfway open. And I think that if you resolve that problem, and most of the hearing aids in the marketplace, not all, have almost completely resolved that problem. I wrote my first article about this in 2004. It did take a decade for the industry to respond, but it has responded. Most of my patients that are professional musicians that do wear hearing aids do very well with them. And ideally, like any hearing aid, whether it's for speech or for music, you should forget that there's anything on the ear. You should just have it being acoustically or electronically transparent as if it's not there. We're there now. So if somebody's not doing very well with their hearing aid, they should see their audiologist. Sometimes it is the technology that they have, but there's a fallacy that a more expensive hearing aid is not necessarily a better hearing aid. And in fact, for music, the best hearing aid is usually a middle of the road hearing aid with many of the bells and whistles that may be useful for speech turned off for music.
Very interesting. Yeah. Audie, I want to go back to you. And
Sure.
I know that, the pandemic has been very hard on all of us, but I think particularly for performers, it's been really hard. And, so people are doing more and more virtual concerts.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted to just ask you, well, first of all, what are you doing during the pandemic and how has it been? How are you? But then also, what was the experience like playing in a live lab to no audience? You just being in this wonderful space where you've played before to a very receptive audience, and then suddenly there's no one there.
Great questions. I think I'm doing okay. I definitely have my up and down moments and struggle, like I'm sure everybody else. I get sad angry a lot. It's like one word, sad angry. I am fortunate enough that I also, I coach singers in German language. So I work for the Glenn Gould School and also for the Canadian Opera Company. So I'm quite busy Zooming and helping people with their German diction or teaching a German language course. I've discovered GarageBand late in my life, and I'm quite enjoying that as well. Yeah, it's very interesting when you get together with friends, whether it has been in the flesh until we were allowed to, or via Zoom. Everybody is in their own crux of existentialist question, you know. When you've spent the majority of your life preparing your craft, and then you can't exercise it the same way, it really feels like the carpet's pulled from under your feet and you're doing this balancing act. And it's a difficult time, but I do think there are silver linings too. And I will say, even though, and this is segueing now to our performance at LiveLab, even though I was quite stressed and nervous filming there with no audience, knowing that we could only film it once. And I'm very much a person who loves to feel the vibrations, the physical vibrations of a person there. And thank God there were a few in the theater, but it matters greatly to me because I love sharing and being together in that embrace. So that was something quite strange to prepare for. However, had we not, were we not in these times right now, I would have never have been able to do this magnificent concert, which I didn't realize it came on the ticker, or whatever you call that scroll bar. This was actually the first such concert that you have done, a live virtual concert. And the quality of the filming and the sound, it brought it to another level. It's almost like people tried extra hard in different ways, right? So it's challenging, but not without merit. That sounds like Olivia Colman from The Crown. big fan. I was glad that we were able to do it. I think if we had waited another 2 days or so, we might have been shut down. So I am very, very, very grateful to the entire team of LiveLab.
Yeah, that's really interesting perspective, because obviously it's been very difficult for us as well at the LiveLab. Mm-hmm. But it does have some silver linings. So it has taken us, for example, into live streaming of concerts. It's taken us into the technology of putting together a video, which we've done little ones, but we hadn't done so many full-length ones. So we've now done 2, and I think they've both been highly successful. And mm-hmm. we can reach a larger audience, and we could show them at different times, so they can be up on our YouTube channel, so people can watch them asynchronously as well. So there are definitely some silver linings, and certainly it's made a lot of us think outside the box a little bit.
I mean, you are a home for innovation, really. And while that seems quite fine and de rigueur during regular times, I think innovation has taken on a whole new meaning in our COVIDian times. This was truly an innovative. Even, when I walked on stage and I knew that the plexiglass walls were there, and I only found out the day before, I was very troubled. It bothered me. But then when we got on stage, it fell away. And now when I look at it, it kind of adds to the whole ambiance, right? And you don't know these things until they're finished.
Yeah. So maybe going back to Marshall, there are fans, I think, in the chat who are interested in whether you might have room in your practice for people to come and get some advice.
I'm a third-rate clarinet player, so I don't think I usually have fans. That's interesting. But I think it's always best to form a liaison with the audiologist that's closest to where you live in the community. Sometimes it is the hardware. Sometimes it is the hearing aid. Sometimes it's the programming, the software. more often than not, if people come to see me for second opinions, and I do see many people in that vein, sometimes you have to turn off the bells and whistles to make it sound more music-like. You shouldn't alter the harmonic structure of music, where you can get away with that a little bit for music. Also, another technology that hearing aids have that they didn't have even before COVID. Well, they did, but it wasn't as well developed as it is now. And almost all the hearing aid manufacturers have a form of remote care, where the audiologist can sit in his or her office, and the client wearing the hearing aid can sit at home or in a concert hall, or if they're a musician in the studio, and they can make adjustments from my office that will program their hearing aid while they're sitting 1,000 miles away. All they need is a computer and a special device that they can get when they purchase the hearing aid. So it's taken audiology and the fine tuning out of the booth, out of the clinic, and back into where it belongs, the environment that a person lives and plays the music in.
Wow.
Yeah, that's so interesting. And I mean, I think many aspects of our lives are being transformed by having to do things over the internet, and some of them, you know, again, we talk about silver linings. I think that's another sort of silver lining, is that we're realizing how much we can do things remotely. And in some cases it's terrible, but in some cases there's benefits. As you say, you know, you can go into realistic environments and whatnot. Yeah, and sort of along that vein as well of the difference between being in a live in-person situation and being remote. Of course, in the LIVELab, we're very interested in studying interpersonal interactions and how people feel, say, being together with other people in an audience while they're experiencing a concert, you know, versus not being together with other people or doing something alone. So Audie, I just wanted to ask you again, because I found that so interesting about how you said initially it was really hard because you wanted that in-person feeling, but you were able to kind of make it work for you somehow. And I sort of wonder to what extent that comes with experience and you know, years of knowledge about what it feels like to be with other people, and whether we can imagine that somehow and put ourselves in that mood or that feeling, even when we're not.
I mean, I think singers have a bit of an advantage because at least I see myself as a storyteller. A lot of singers do. And so these songs, even though they're tied together by a theme, and the theme is film noir, they're little individual vignettes. And so even though there are no people there per se, I'm still even telling to myself or to the microphone, I'm bringing to life a moment, a musical moment. And in the moment of the song, you kind of forget where you are. It's those in-between moments when you look out for a second and go, right, it's black. Now, mind you, if I were singing for a live audience, very often you can't see too many people because there's so many lights pointing at you, right? But I think that the training, anyway, my training of, or my mindset of being in the moment, telling a story not only for the audience, virtual or live, but also telling a story with my musicians, right? Even though we were really separated, I think we were actually 12 to 15 feet. I think that music really transcends, literally, figuratively, a lot of those boundaries.
Yeah, interesting. So the idea that music can bring us together across these sort of gulfs, even when, you know, they're not natural. Yeah, so I wanted to ask you also, because I kept wondering during the performance why you chose particular songs. I mean, some songs are very, very famous, of course, and wonderful songs. But when you're putting together a program like that, how do you choose? I mean, there were so many songs you could have chosen. How did you come up with the particular ones you chose?
Yeah, so I printed out the song list again. So I've done my show Noir before as a 2-set show, and there are about 7 more songs that I wasn't able to add to this somewhat condensed show. But I guess I'm looking for pivots of storytelling again. It comes back to the storyline, right? Where is there a dramatic, a mysterious, a conniving, a cynical, a soft, a vulnerable moment? We've seen all those moments in noir movies. Where is there a typical song that exposes the mindset of or the lack of mindset of a femme fatale or a murderer? So I'm looking for themes in each songs and how they make sort of like a peak and valley tell of the story of one gigantic film noir. Of course, I took the liberty of also adding some songs that are not from noir, but that ought to have been or could have been. So for example, the first song, Crazy from the Heat, which is written by one of Canada's most brilliant singer-songwriters, Shirley Eichhardt, it's all about a gangster situation and running away, and it's very, very noir. The other one, of course, well, just going back to Mac the Knife, film noir, even though it is quintessentially an American film genre, has its roots in German expressionism. And it is that director I mentioned, Fritz Lang, who when he left Germany and filmed more in Hollywood, I do think that Mac the Knife, you know, that Mac the Knife is a murder ballad. What could be more classic than a murder? A fall guy, a femme fatale. So, and he lines them all up. So I think I was looking to see how I could also tie together my various interests, because as you know, the last show I did was dedicated to German cabaret. So German cabaret is a very important, you know, touch point, or however you say that. I can't even think in English right now. Ein Anfangspunkt. It's a basis for noir, for sure. If I may, I have a very interesting little quote about noir. It's very short. I hope you all remembered Siskel and Ebert, the wonderful film critics. Well, Roger Ebert says that noir is the most American film genre because no society could have created a world so filled with doom, fate, fear, and betrayal unless it were essentially naive and optimistic. So there's a lot in that kind of statement, and it kind of inspired me to also have some more humorous songs, like he says, Murder, he says, murder, he says. If you listen to dialogue in noir, it's cynical, it's bitter, but it's also insanely nonsensical. The things they say, people don't talk like that, you know? That's why I brought in the element of neo-noir with the Thin Man movies, right? Because that is a subgenre of noir.
Yeah, so interesting. And I can't help but ask Marshall, because Marshall, I think your PhD is in linguistics, is that right?
Master's work in linguistics, but
okay.
I came from a math background. I found that boring, went to linguistics, which is the same thing, really. It's human communication. Linguistics is very mathematical. And then my graduate advisor said, you better go into audiology, which I'd never heard of before. I was 24 or 25. And so I was a latecomer to that. But what is your question about linguistics?
My question is, Audie alluded to the fact that people don't talk that way anymore. So, you know, speech and how we communicate, they're constantly evolving. And I was sort of struck in Audie's show tonight, how, you know, some of the themes are universal and we can really connect with them, and how other things seem different from the way we communicate now.
I think that's
so. Can
true.
you talk about that?
I can a little bit. It is true that speech and music is a very emotional thing. Nobody does it in isolation. We don't read a piece of paper when we're speaking. We have spontaneous speech, and we reflect the environment that we're in. The cadence, the rhythm of the speech is quite different. There are certain dialectal differences depending on where you're speaking. If you're a New Yorker, you will speak very distinctly differently in a very well-defined way. If you're the villains have a very characteristic speech. And I don't ever want to meet Sidney Greenstreets or some of the great characters from the film noir in a dark alley ever. Just by listening to them, I have a chill coming down my back. And I think that underscores, not only for speech, but for music as well, that music is a very emotional as well as a very intellectual experience as well. Going off topic of what your question was, though, getting back to the question about COVID, one of the things that many churches have found that have live choirs in the churches, if they're in a community where it's okay to congregate, and hopefully in the near future we'll have this again, although right now it seems to be problematical. But many of these choirs are finding that they can space themselves out, ostensibly for COVID and for health reasons, but actually they can stand 20, 30 feet away from each other rather than right next to each other. And because of the inherent echoes and reverberation in a church room with a high ceiling, they can hear each other very well, about the same as if they were right next to each other. They're safer. They can all hear each other very well. They don't have to raise their voice to sing over the person next to them. And especially in flu season or in this COVID environment, it's healthier. And so we're learning a lot about how orchestras and choirs should be put together once we are able to get back together. I think that if Mozart was here, he would agree with me that the way an orchestra is right now, packed onto a stage, doesn't have to be that way. It could be spread out differently. You can even, with current technology, have different instrument groups, such as the percussion, in a different room, wired in. So it doesn't have to be a very close set that we traditionally do have. So I think COVID has taught us a little bit about room acoustics and to take advantage of room acoustics. So there is a good side to COVID, a very small good side. It's mostly a bad side, of course.
Very small.
Yeah, that's so interesting. And of course, in the LiveLab, we have an amazing sound system with 76 loudspeakers and 28 microphones, and we can actually change the acoustic environment to make it more or less reverberant.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, you're giving us research ideas here, Marshall, about we could actually test out some of these things about what it's like to play in different reverberations. And because I suspect that would really affect also how far apart people feel comfortable playing with each other and things like that.
To be fair, there's a gentleman that I got this story from. His name is Meade Killian. Now, Meade Killian would be known to many people because during the 1970s, 1980s, and 1990s, he was the guru of music. In fact, in 1988, he invented the modern day microphone, the best hearing aid for music, an analog hearing aid. He invented hearing protection for musicians, all in 1 year. The guy's incredible at intellect and passion. He's a great musician himself. And it's him who is now in a choir at his church in the Chicago area that is doing all this wonderful work with the improved sound quality as the reverberation changes and being spaced out much further. So names like Meade Killian, if you ever wanted to Google that name, it would bring you to a wealth of information.
If I just had a thought as I'm listening to what Marshall's saying, if I might. So the antithesis to the show that we performed at the LiveLab Theater would be in September. I was lucky enough to do a gig at the Jazz Bistro in Toronto, which is my home. And it was just piano and vocals, and we had a big plexiglass in front of us. Some of my happiest times are really being squeezed on that small stage. When I had one of my CD launches there, we were 9 people on the extended stage. And even though perhaps the sound was not the best or the overall, there was something, so that's a good thing. There was something so electric about just feeling the warmth a few centimeters away of your next fellow musician. It's very heartwarming and inspiring, and that is great. This is an entirely different thing, but it's also great. So I think what we're learning maybe in COVID is that we are, even though I don't like it, we are adaptable. we must adapt to the circumstances. I'm a person who's probably a little rigid for the first couple of seconds, and then I surrender, right? So I think also, just to go back to what you were saying, Marshall, the adaptability of large-scale productions to think outside way outside the literal box, I think it'll help us in the long run, because something like a pandemic will probably happen again and give rise to more innovation. So there will always be room for intense social gatherings, and then for more esoterically spaced ones, right? So I think there are good things to both sides of the coin.
Oh, you're absolutely right. We have flu season every single year at about this time in the fall and in the winter. And if we can learn a few lessons from COVID and learn a few lessons from Live Lab and music and reverberation, the benefits of reverberation, the echoes, we can make everyone healthier down the line and still
Yeah,
enjoy the music.
for sure. So thank you, LiveLab, again.
Well, thank you both. I think that's an amazing place to end. Lots of food for thought for us and the audience. And so just one last time from all of us at Live Lab, thank you both so much for being with
welcome.
us tonight and your wonderful music and your talk, Marshall.
My pleasure. It's my honor. Thank you.
Yes, mine too.
So
Thank you very much, Laurel.
good night, everyone, and we hope to see you at our next show.
Yes, thank you so much.
Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye.
Polly Peachum, Lucy Brown. Oh, the line forms on the right, dear. Now that Mackie's back in town. Oh, the line start to spread.
We're good to go?
We're good to go.
That was a very interesting conversation, right?
It was.
That was fascinating. Let me send you the slides that me Killian sent.
Sunday morning lies a body using life.
Maybe there are more questions coming.
Yeah, could be.
Is that someone like the knife from the tugboat by the river? A cement bag's dropping down. The cement's just for the weight, dear. Bet your Mackie's back in town. Louis Miller disappeared, dear, after drawing out his cash. And Nick Heath spends like a sailor. Did our boy do something rash? Suki Tawdry, Jenny Diver, Polly Peachum, Lucy Brown. Oh, the line forms on the right, dear. Now that man